Hi guys, welcome to the 2021 Greene County 4-H and FFA Goat Show. My name is Meredith Fetters. I'm the superintendent of the goat department. Today, our judge is Chris Spence. He was raised in Mcdowell, Oklahoma, showed sheep, goats, and cattle. He's been involved in the JABGA growing up. He's a member of the OYMGA growing up, and he's judged livestock at junior college level, and he's the owner of Spence Brazos Land and Livestock located in Coldwater, Kansas. I'd also like to thank Home State Bank today for doing the live stream on Facebook and YouTube and sponsoring and giving us water today. The first class we have today is going to be our breeding does, 1 year and under. And in that class, we have Grace Curtis, Maggie Reed, Grace Curtis, Finn Palmer, Reese Palmer, and Ashlyn Frederick.
Everybody hear me all right? I guess so. First off, I'd like to say what an honor and a privilege it is to be here in Greene County. I've heard a lot of great things about this county, not only about the livestock, but just about the producers here in this county, but also the youth as well. So you really got to give it out to these young individuals. Got a lot of good quality here. Went ahead and started out with this painted doe right here in front of me. She's a doe that you really got to appreciate. As soon as she walks into the ring, she's just got a lot of attractiveness to her. She covers her tracks very well. She's one you get your hands on her. She does not disappoint you. She has the most meat animal shape out of anything in the class. And she's also one that is also the boldest, sprung, deepest sided out of the class. You probably would like to give her a little bit more flex and cushion to her gift to her hock, but I think that's being nitpicky on a good quality individual. Moving on to our second place, I thought this was one that kind of fell closely in terms of type and kind. You definitely would like to give her more meat animal shape, specifically starting at the top of that shoulders and really kind of moving on down into the rack. But I still think she's one nonetheless that you can really get excited for just in terms of her attractiveness as well. She's one that you would definitely got to appreciate her depth and spring of rib. But, you know, she's one that from a commercial standpoint and from a show standpoint, she's going to be very productive for this young individual. And moving on to our lighter-headed individual, you know, this is one that she really did kind of catch my eye in terms of her attractiveness. She really ties in higher and tighter from that neck to shoulder and really just kind of continues that trend, being nice balance. You've got this individual up into thirds. Each third is going to weigh the same. Really where she disappoints me is she does not have nearly as much meat to her as I would like to see. Being a boar goat, you definitely got to be able to bring that to the table and make sure that you're giving some meat animal shape, especially for her being a breeding doe. So I definitely would like to give her some more muscle and just overall just be able to have some more pounds to her. Moving on into the next ones of the class, really all of these just need some more time. You really just need some more feed, and especially rounding out the class, just a little bit more time working with them as well. Just continue to push the feed to them and get them growing. But all of these kids did a nice job. Let's go ahead and give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Grace Curtis for the first and second place. And then third place was Ashlyn Frederick. The second class we have coming up is the breeding doe, 1 year and over. And in this class, we have Grace Curtis, Maggie Reed, and Peyton Minahan.
As we move on into our next class, really, you've got 3 does that kind of made their way to the top. And 2 of these, in the first top 2, for my liking, they're a little bit over-conditioned than what I really prefer. But really, this doe that's kind of standing in front of me, she was just one of the more complete does out of the class. She's definitely the longest, most skeletally extended, and really kind of continues that trend. And that's something that I really think that she's going to be able to pass on into her offspring. She's the boldest, most depth and spring of rib, but as you get your hands on her, you can definitely see that she's got a lot of condition on her. You definitely would like to see her be a little bit more trimmer. But I think that is just kind of comes with the par as being part of the South African boar. So definitely, put her on a little bit of diet if you're going to continue to show her. But I think in terms of a commercial or a show doe, she's definitely got a lot of good things going for you. Moving on into the pure red doe, she was a little bit thinner condition, and that's what kind of moved her up for me a little bit. She stands on a little bit more substance of bone than her counterpart in third, but you definitely would like to make her a little bit wider, especially from the ground up, and definitely would like to make her a little bit wider in that front 1/3. But as you get your hands on her and kind of continue in that trend, you do see that she does have some more width to her as you get behind her. But again, she's just another one that needs a little bit of a diet, and you definitely would like to see her trimmed back just a little bit. Moving on into our third place, this was kind of the problem doe of the class to me because I really liked her from an attractive standpoint. She's definitely, really kind of ties her head in higher and tighter from neck to shoulder. Goodness. But she's one that really doesn't stand on a whole lot of substance of bone. She's not very big-footed at all, and that really kind of raises some issues for me as she gets older. She's really going to be able to stand really just trying to be a mother. She's got a lot of depth and spring of rib, but even when you get behind her, from a market standpoint and what she's going to pass on into her offspring, she just doesn't bring a whole lot to the table when you're feeling of her and meeting your hand with a lot of bulge. So you definitely would like to give her a little bit more substance of bone and definitely give her a little bit more meat animal shape for her to move up any higher in the class. But, if you flip-flopped her with the second place, I definitely wouldn't disagree with you and wouldn't doubt it. Could change tomorrow at any time. Moving on to our next individual. This is a doe that you really got to appreciate for just really having very, very clean through that front 1/3, one that is very clean through that neck and into that shoulder, and really just kind of continues that trend. You really would just like to see her be more powerfully constructed, just be built wider from the ground up to really move up any higher in the class. But I think she's one nonetheless, commercial or show. She's going to bring some productivity and some profitability for this young man. So let's go ahead and give him a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Grace Curtis for placing first, and then Maggie Reed for second and third. Next, we'll have our first and second place breeding does for the year and under for Class 1 and Class 2, competing for Grand Champion Breeding Doe and Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Doe. this one get? No, they're gonna get half rosettes. Okay.
As we move on into our doe grand drive, really the only problem with any of these does is that they're not residing in Coldwater, Kansas. You know, all of these does are ones that, you know, I could definitely take back to my operation, and whether I'm putting their offspring into my feedlot or whether I'm going to be showing them there in Kansas, I'm definitely going to be able to have some productivity. So all of these kids do have fantastic looking livestock, and overall, you know, just before I even get into it, they should be given a nice round of applause because there's some great quality out here. Now, having said all that, you know, there are some definitely things that you would like to see improved on, you know, and really it's nothing that is super major. You know, it's whether it could be just a little bit of a diet, just a little bit more structurally sound, but that really kind of just comes with the part of, you know, being in the boar goat. It's gotten so to a point where we're getting farther and farther away from what the boar goats from South Africa came from, that, you know, it's harder and harder to find them truly what they're supposed to be, very Roman about that head, and really just, you know, the goats that were brought over back in '93. Having said all that, though, I think that there's one individual out here that really just kind of becomes the top of the crop, the cream of the crop for me per se, and that just kind of rises to the top that I think will be the champion individual today. So I'm going to go out and shake that individual's hand. As we move into bringing in our second place from our grand overall, you know, she's another doe that really, in terms of type and kind, follows closely to our grand overall. She's one, again, that, you know, you would like to see her be a little bit lighter on the condition side, but nonetheless one that whenever this young lady gets her set up, she's really attractive, really pretty from that profile, and really that you can kind of put that title of show goat on her. She really does carry herself with a lot of confidence and attractiveness whenever the doe does want to do what she wants to. So I'm going to go out and shake the hand of the reserve individual.
Congratulations to Grace Curtis with their FFA for the Grand Champion Breeding Doe, and Reserve Grand Champion Breeding goes to Maggie Reed from Hardin Happy Hustlers. We're going to switch gears and go to start with market goats. We're going to do Class 3. And the weight ranges for this class is 62 pounds to 65 pounds. And in the show ring, we're going to have Becca Anderson and Bailey Anderson.
I should have just kept. I should have just kept my goat up here and one of those things to showmanship. Why didn't I do that? I just realized I could have just left it up here. It's not like
As we move on into our market show, kind of change directions a little bit and stop, you're not focusing quite on the breeding characteristics as much as you're focusing on muscle and finish, and muscle is king. And went ahead and started out with this young lady's weather right here, the most boar appearing out of the class as well. When you get your hands on this animal, you continue to push him, you're going to get some excitement out of him. He's definitely got some shape down his rack, really kind of continues that trend. He's got a lot of pounds of product from that last rib back into that hind saddle, and he meets your hand with a lot of bulge. Obviously, you would like to see him be a little bit wider from the ground up, but I think that really just is going to kind of come with time. You continue to finish this guy out to 80, 85 pounds, and I definitely would like to see what he's going to be for this young lady. Moving on into this next individual, when he's kind of covering around the ring, he's one of the prettier, more attractive individuals of the class, one that you can get excited for in terms of his balance. You cut this animal into thirds, and each third is going to weigh the same. Where you would like to see him improve is his width. Really, he's just one of the narrower made ones of the class and really doesn't meet your hand nearly with as much bulge to his leg as you would like to see. So definitely give him a lot more meat animal shape and just continue to feed him some groceries, and we'll see what happens with him. Moving on into our next individual, one that you can definitely tell either has some Kiko or Savannah thrown into him. He's easily the longest, most skeletally extended individual of the class. Really just kind of continues that trend as you're moving on down into his rack, but one overall that just needs to be more powerful. He needs to have more muscle, just needs to be a little bit more wider made, and overall just be more powerfully constructed to move up any higher in the class. But overall, still a very nice class. Let's go and give him a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Becca Anderson for placing first and Bailey Anderson for placing second and third. Up next, we're going to have class 4. For market goat, we have 71 pounds. So the weight ranges will range from 69 pounds to 72 pounds. In this class, we have Reese Palmer, Becca Anderson, and Finn Palmer.
As we move on into our next market class, one thing I could say is, some of these goats the wethers are just not wanting to act well for the kids, and really just making sure that we're working with our livestock as well. We've got one wether out here that's got a lot of potential to be very, very special if you just continue to do the things right way and make sure that we're setting him up. Starting with this young man's wether right here, he's easily the hardest handling, hardest to the touch wether of this class. And you can just really even see it whenever he walks around the ring. When he covers his tracks, he's the strongest out of his hip. He's definitely got the most muscle out of his hip, and really just kind of continues that trend as you move on down and feel of him at his bulge of his leg. You just need to make sure that we're getting this animal set up for the judge, because if you continue to push him, especially at like a state fair level, some judges wouldn't even give you the time of day if he's not set up. So, but overall, still a very good animal. Let's just make sure that we're getting him set up correctly. Moving on into our second place is another one that really just kind of continues that trend. Not quite as hard to the touch as I would like, but one nonetheless that does have a lot of meat animal shape to him. You definitely would like to see him be a little bit wider over the boulder square top, and definitely would like to see him be a little bit built wider from the ground up. But nonetheless, one that, whether you take him to continue to show, or even if you finish him out and take him to Clarinda or Colfax or Kelowna, he's definitely going to bring some productivity and some profitability for you, especially right now with the way the market's going. And moving on into our young ladies' wether at the end. This is easily the tallest, most upstanding, and growthiest made kind of wether, but that also falls to his disadvantage. You definitely would like to see him have a little bit more meat animal shape, and he's another one that just needs overall just have some more muscle to him, especially from that last rib back into that last 1/3. Definitely one that you would like to see meet your hand with more bulge, but nonetheless is another one that, depend wherever he's taken for a goat auction, he's going to bring a lot of money, just because of the coloring that he is and just the way that he is. So, but let's go ahead and give these kids a nice round of applause, and let's give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Finn Palmer for placing first. Second goes to Reese Palmer, and third place goes to Becca Anderson. Up next, we have Class 5, Market Goat, 85 pounds. In the class, we have Grace Curtis and Maggie Reed.
Didn't get one? No, I usually get a PlayStation every.
Moving on into our next market class, got a couple does that are definitely getting a little bit closer in terms of your ideal weight that you're looking for. And both of these does definitely bring a lot to the table, very similar in their type and kind, two that are very long and skeletally extended. Went ahead and started out with this young lady's doe right here in front of me. One that just a tick wider over that boulder square top, just has a tick more meat animal shape and has a little bit more expression as well. One that's a little bit stouter out of that hip and really just kind of continues that trend, meets your hand with a lot of bulge of that leg, and is a little bit deeper in her twist as well. Ideally, you would like to see this female just stand on a little bit more substance of bone and really, just maybe get a little bit harder handling, harder to the touch. But I think that's being nitpicky on a good quality individual. And if you keep her in a market class, I think that she'll have some success. But also if you put her into just a regular commercial doe operation, she's definitely going to kind of continue to pass on those traits that she has right now to her offspring. Moving on into our second place. And this was a pretty close class. I think one of the closer ones that we've had today. This is a doe that you can definitely appreciate for being a little bit harder handling, harder to the touch. Really where she just kind of disappointed me a little bit is she wasn't as wide as I'd like to see, especially over that rack, and really just kind of continued that trend. You definitely would like to see her built wider from the ground up and just be more powerfully constructed. But she's another one nonetheless that you continue to show her into a market show, or if you put her into a commercial operation, she's going to have some success. So both of these young ladies did a fantastic job. Let's go ahead and give them a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Maggie Reed for placing first. Second place goes to Grace Curtis. Next class, we have class number 6, which is the 85-pound market goat. And in this class, we have Owen Frederick.
So move on into our heavier weight wethers. really got one that you can get really excited for a lot of different reasons. Really, as he enters in the ring, he's just one that really kind of catches your eye in terms of an attractiveness standpoint. Really pretty from that profile, and you get your hands on him from a market standpoint. He doesn't disappoint you one bit. One of the hardest handling ones that we felt of today, and really kind of continues that trend, doesn't taper off one bit, and really just kind of continues to get wider and wider as you get your hands on him as well. One that's got some length and skeletal extension, especially from that last rib back into that hind saddle, and definitely meets your hand with a lot of bulge. You probably would like to make him a little bit deeper in his twist, but I think that's being pretty nitpicky on a good quality wether, that if this young man continues to push him and show him, he's going to have some success with him. So let's go ahead and give him a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Owen Frederick from Washington Winners for placing first. And the last market class we have is a 100-pound market class, class number 7. Entering the ring is Taylor Mcdowell.
As we move on into our heavier class of weathers, you know, these young people don't really realize it, but they're kind of sitting on some gold. I know everybody says that with wood and, you know, steel and whatnot, but Fredericksburg, Texas just had 80 to 120 pound weathers sell between $4 and $5 a pound. So there's a lot of money in goats right now, and it's never been a better time to be a small animal producer, and this young lady is no doubt kind of fitting that bill. Really, this is a wether that you get your hands on him from a market standpoint. He's just as hard handling and hardest to the touch as anything that we felt of today, and really kind of continues that trend, doesn't taper off one bit. You know, you probably would like to make him a little bit more stronger in his back end. He kind of gets a little funky as he's out on the move, and one that you would like to see a little bit stronger in his front and back passes. But, you know, from a market standpoint, he's got a lot of good going for him. I still believe that the path to productivity and profitability is through structural correctness. So that is definitely something that you would like to change about him. But still a good wether that's definitely going to bring this young lady some good amount of money and some good profitability. So let's go ahead and give her a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to Taylor Mcdowell from Junction Food Producers for placing first. Up next, we'll be competing for Grand Champion Market Goat and Reserve Grand Champion Market Goat.
before we get into the selection of the grand drive, let's go ahead again and give all of these individuals, all of these showers, a nice round of applause. In a world full of uncertainty, you never know when something's just going to change at the drop of a hat. And even being here in central Iowa, just to see the quality of goats that we've got here that really you can just get excited for, not only from a show standpoint, but also from a commercial standpoint as well. So, you've got to really tip your hats off to these kids. And not only that, but the families, the educators, FFA teachers, everybody. Because it's a huge thing. And, you've got a lot of quality out here that both from a commercial and show standpoint are going to bring a lot of excitement to a lot of people. Like I said earlier, it's never been a better time to be a small animal producer. Whether you're in sheep or goats, it's just crazy. And, that is my career. So it's just an exciting time to be able to be here, but also to just be able to look at this kind of livestock. And really for all of you young individuals, you should be excited to be able to show goats, but also just to be able to raise them and produce them. Because, $4 to $5 a pound, it may not sound like much to you, but it is to me. And whenever I hear that, a 185-pound wether brings a little under $900, I get excited. Because as for us as agriculturalists, profitability is supposed to be the name of the game, and you're in the right business to be able to do that. Now, saying all of that, I think there's a couple of wethers out here that really just kind of rose to the top for me in terms of their weight per day of age, in terms of their type and kind, and really just kind of what we're looking for, not only in the show industry, but just in the goat industry as a whole. So I'm going to go out and shake the hand of the champion, and then we'll do the reserve as well.
Congratulations, Owen Frederick for Grand Champion Market Goat, and Reserve Grand Champion Market Goat goes to Taylor Mcdowell. Up next, we're going to do Clover Kids, Goat Kids, Class 8. So entering the ring will be Emmett Minahan, Clarissa Richards, Lauren Reed, and Emma Wilson. After that, we'll do a Best in Show. So please have your Grand Champion Breeding Doe, the Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Doe, and Grand and Reserve Market Goat in the holding pen, please.
All right. And what is your name?
Emmett.
Emmett. Nice to meet you. All right. What is your goat's name?
Eliza.
Eliza. Where did you get Eliza from?
Hamilton.
Hamilton? Okay. How long have you had Eliza? What's your favorite thing about Eliza?
That she walks nice.
Mine too. What are you going to do with Eliza after the show? Awesome. Well, congratulations. Hi, what's your name?
Clarissa.
Nice to meet you, Clarissa. What is your goat's name?
Jesse.
Jesse. Where did you get Jesse from?
From Grace Curtis.
Fantastic. How long have you had Jesse?
I don't know.
Okay. What's your favorite thing about Jesse?
That she's gentle and she works well with me.
Awesome. What do you plan on doing with Jesse after the show?
I don't know.
Okay, awesome. Well, keep up the good work, okay? What's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren. Pleasure to meet you, Lauren. What's your goat's name?
Coco.
Coco. Where did you get Coco from?
I think it was, I don't know.
How long have you had Coco?
For like a year.
For like a year? Awesome. What's your favorite thing about Coco?
That when I let go of the leash, she doesn't run away.
Awesome. And what are your plans with Coco after the show? Okay, awesome. We'll keep up the good work, okay? Hi, what's your name?
Emma.
Emma. Pleasure to meet you, Emma. What's your goat's name?
Fifi.
Fifi. Okay. Where'd you get Fifi from?
My sister.
Okay. Do you know how old Fifi is?
1 year old.
Okay, awesome. And what is your favorite thing about Fifi?
That she's nice to other people.
Okay. Doesn't seem like it right now. What are your plans with Fifi after the show?
Going back home.
Awesome. All right, well, hey, keep up the good work, okay? Let's go ahead and give him a nice round of applause.
Up next, we're going to do Best in Show. So for Best in Show, we'll take the Grand Champion Breeding Doe, the Reserve Grand Champion Breeding Doe, the Grand Champion Market Goat, the Reserve Grand Champion Market Goat, and compete against each other for Best in Show.
Getting pictures right now.
Oh, well.
Okay. I'll go ahead and get the market letters in here for you.
Okay. There was supposed to be a list. There was supposed to be a... Where'd all my... things go? Okay. I'm serious. I was sweating so much just from showing the little goat. Poor Dale. He's
That's his name. His name is Dale. I hope they don't ask me questions about what's the different show me the show. That is about the show. Yeah, everyone is in. Hopefully they brought my. Hopefully my sister.
As we move on into one of our last things of the show, the best in show, you have to take into consideration, we got a breeding versus market, two completely different types and kinds here, but you can still definitely tell there's just a lot of fantastic quality out here. With the two does, I would love to take these back to Coldwater, Kansas, and be able to just be able to breed not only commercial offspring out of them, but really I think that they would be super competitive in Southwest Kansas for a lot of 4-H and FFA members down there. And then moving on into our market standpoints, both of these individuals have got a lot of good opportunities to really be competitive as they're going on, specifically with the young man's up front. I think if he really pushes this weather hard, if he goes to Showdown, I think he's definitely got the opportunity, if he works with him and really just gets him set up the right way, to make some noise in front of a lot of good quality animals. So with the best in show, the champion is going to be the doe, and then the reserve is going to be the market weather. So let's go ahead and give him a nice round of applause and get ready for showmanship.
Congratulations to Grace Curtis for winning Best in Show. And up next, we're going to do Showmanship. I know in the program it starts with the junior showmanship, intermediate, and senior, but we're going to do it senior, intermediate, and junior. So if I could have the senior showmanship to the ring, that class consists of Bailey Anderson, Grace Curtis, and Ashlyn Frederick.
Attention all exhibitors and families. We are going to be tearing down the middle gates following the goat show. If we could have people stay and help us, we'll just as soon as the junior showmanship's over, we'll start tearing down. So please stick around and help us out.
We doing all right? When I do showmanship, you can ask anybody that's ever been to any of my county fairs, junior livestock shows that I've ever been to. I take my time when it comes to the showmanship because I think it is single-handedly the most important thing about showing livestock. I don't care what Lautner say, I don't care what Dale Hummel says, Ryan Rash would agree with me. Showmanship is key because it really shows how much you know, not only about your animal, but just about being a junior livestock member. And especially for these seniors, when you have a lot of junior members that are watching, these kids are role models. These young ladies do a fantastic job of showing their goats and showing it to the best of their ability, but they really need to continue to pass that on to the young individuals that are in this county, because if they do, this county has a lot of potential to be a very, very competitive county in terms of showing goats. You've got the quality of goats. You saw it in the weather show all over. Now just making sure that the young people can definitely show those goats off. And, really sky's the limit. I asked the kids, name the 4 chambers of a ruminant stomach. I asked them when the ABGA was formed, which is the American Boar Goat Association. I asked them, name me 4 breeds of meat goat. Then I also asked them to give me a couple of judging terms, which from the last rib to the hooks was the loin, last rib back was the hind saddle. So those are the questions that I asked. The reason I do that is just because I want to see the knowledge that they have. Because you hear the judges all the time asking, like, well, what do you feed your goat? What's his name's, what's the name of this goat? Quite frankly, that's elementary stuff. For these seniors, they need to be challenged because they do have the potential and they do have the ability to be very good and be very competitive. So that's my big thing, is I want to challenge them and make sure that, they can rise to the challenge. So I'm going to go out and shake the champion and then the reserve.
Congratulations, Grace Curtis, for champion senior showman. The reserve also goes to Ashlyn Frederick. Up next, we're going to do intermediate showmanship. In that class, we have Maggie Reed and Taylor Mcdowell.
Moving on into the intermediates of the showmanship, definitely still have some quality in terms of the showman that we have right here. A little bit younger, so he's still a little bit green around the gills per se, but still some young individuals that definitely do a good job of showing off their weather and their doe. Both of these young ladies did a good job of getting their goat set up. Main things I can say is just making sure that we're keeping eye contact at all times with the judge, making sure that we're smiling. I know that's a big pet peeve of a lot of people, just smile. We're actually showing goats. We're actually at a county fair, so have some fun with it. And then making sure that whenever we're switching sides, or that we do switch sides, whenever the judge is, make sure that the goat's in between you and the judge, and then making sure that we're doing it in a safely and timely manner as well. But overall, I think that these young ladies did a nice job, so I'm going to go out and select my champion and my reserve.
Congratulations to Taylor Mcdowell for intermediate showmanship. Reserve goes to Maggie Reed. Up next, we'll have our last class, and it's going to be junior showmanship. So can I please have to the ring Owen Frederick, Ben Palmer, Reese Palmer, and Peyton Minahan.
here in the juniors, we got a lot of young individuals, that are fresh and new to the goat industry, which I'm super excited to see. Anytime that we can get any sort of young people involved in any sort of junior livestock industry, it's an exciting time. Me personally, just being a goat producer, seeing them in goats is a real, it makes me smile. Now, some things that I definitely would like to see worked on, it just comes with time. More experience that you get showing at bigger shows is just certain things you pick up. Making sure that we're keeping eye contact with the judge, making sure that we're smiling, and then really, especially in a class 4, 5, 6, never really taking your time off. Because really, showmanship is, not only is it the single most important thing to show how good of a showman you are, but also to show how much you've worked with your animal. But in a lot of cases, it can move you up in a class. There's been multiple classes that I've gone from 3rd to 1st or 4th to 2nd because of how I showed that animal. Because I knew the things that I should improve with that animal, with that sheep, with that wether, with that steer, whatever. And I tried my best to hide it. And I tried my best to make sure that I could move up in the class. And I've seen it multiple times where people have been able to show their way up into a class. And on the flip side, I've seen people show their way out of a class as well. So in a class like this, you always got to be on your toes. You always got to be showing that animal, never taking a break. Really, the only time I would say taking a break would be a big class like 30, 35, or 40. Then you can kind of chill for a little bit. But once, 5, 10 head down, the judge is coming, you need to get ready because it can make or break you, and it could be a big deal for you. So those are some things I would work on, really just making sure that we're getting the experience and then just always continuously working with our animals, not only here but also at home. So I'm going to go out and pick my champion and my reserve.
Congratulations to Owen Frederick for championship for junior showmanship, and then reserve goes to Reese Palmer. So that was the last class that we had for the goat show. I really appreciate everybody attending and being here. I want to also thank you, Chris, for judging today and coming all the way from Kansas. Home state. Also, thank you to Home State Bank for sponsoring the live stream on Facebook and YouTube today, and for sponsoring the water that is available. Also, we had a rate of gain division, and the grand champion rate of gain that we had was Taylor Mcdowell, and the reserve grand champion rate of gain went to Maggie Reed.